Powered by Riverside FM.
Forget Bigfoot. This week we're diving deep into the world of lesser-known cryptids. This week we're ditching the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot for some truly outlandish creatures. Join us as we delve into the world of the lesser-known, weird, and enigmatic cryptids. Tonight on Newsworthy, 2 words and 2 question marks.
He's alive! Have you checked the children? Get out!
You have scoured the podcast world and finally found us, Newsworthy with Steve and Jerry, where we delve into all things mysterious, macabre, or out of this world, and decide if they are truly newsworthy. 2 words and 2 question marks.
Hello, I'm Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. Tax season is upon us. Did you know that 47% of Americans are planning to use their tax refunds for everyday expenses, home improvements, and vacations? What if you used your tax refund for a new home instead? Again, this is Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. Your tax refund can be used towards down payment, closing costs, or paying down existing debt to help get approved. So before you spend that tax refund, let's get together and see how to best utilize those funds to invest in your future and your new home. Call or text me at 502-680-0953. Again, that's 502-680-0953. NMLS ID 448-9808, Das Acquisitions, LLC, doing business as USA Mortgage, NMLS ID 227262. This is not a commitment to lend. Additional terms and conditions apply. USA Mortgage is an equal housing lender.
What an ovation, Jerry.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I'm not for sure why, but that's it. That's ovation.
It's because you walked in the studio, sir.
What was that?
That's exactly it. What an ovation. Welcome to the show. We're live with Newsworthy. 2 words and 2 question marks. Thanks for joining us. Jerry, we got a fun show tonight.
Think so?
I think so.
I hope
Shoot.
so.
Anytime we can dig into things like that, man, you know it's good, right?
I just figured out Twitch is several seconds lagged.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why.
Well-
Twitch. It's got a several second lag. I don't know why.
It's probably I don't know, maybe do they, I don't know.
What were you thinking? To be able to bleep out that
Maybe,
stuff?
but
No.
Twitch doesn't
No.
control that.
At
That's
all.
not a thing.
No.
That's up to you to control and your
Yep.
listeners. Weird. Huh. Well, Jerry, did you hear the sausage joke?
The sausage joke. I
Yeah.
don't think so. What is it?
Don't worry about it. It's the worst.
Oh, I get. I see what you did there. The worst. Sad part is, I'm willing to bet you don't even like worst, do you?
I absolutely do not like
That's what I
worst.
figured.
Bratwurst,
Any of
liver
them.
worst, nasty worst, whatever. That's what they should
Have
just
you
name it all.
Normally, your problem with smoked sausage, any of the worst, is the grind. It tends to be a
Thicker, coarser.
cut.
Yeah.
If it was finer ground, do you think that would solve your problem, or do you
Maybe.
just not like the taste?
I like sausage. So I don't know how.
Well, it's.
Listen,
I mean,
so-
bratwurst is nothing. The taste is nothing like breakfast sausage. So, if you're
Right. So
comparing
here's the
it-
thing. I've had bratwurst one time in my entire life, and it was the white kind. I don't know.
Okay.
Does that make a difference?
Yes.
Okay.
A little
So used to, when I was like 13, 12, when me and Tommy were running around, he's been on the show. We talked about, we had an encounter.
Right.
Me and him worked for a guy, and rest his soul, Tommy Florence.
Yep.
Big tobacco farmer down in Harrison County. And sometimes he would let us go down to the local restaurant, just put something on his tab for lunch. And then other times we would go to his house if his wife felt like cooking. And we went to his house one time and she made bratwurst.
The white kind.
The white kind. Dude, I have, other than tonight, well, no, that's not even a comparison. It was probably the worst thing I'd ever tried to eat in my entire existence. It was bad.
Was the taste that bad, or do you think it, seriously, do you think it was the mental problem you
Yes.
had by looking? Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was
the mental
terrible.
issue.
I couldn't get past it. I starved that day. And you know what we were doing that day? I'll never forget because I was so hungry when I got home.
Probably some hard work.
We were picking rocks up out of a field we were going to plow later for tobacco. So we were literally had a tractor with a wagon throwing rocks from the ground to the wagon. And then taking that wagon down to the creek and unloading it, making a pond. It was such hard work.
How rocky was the field?
It was enough we got before, and God, this has been 40 years ago now. But that just sounds weird, doesn't it? It's been 40 years. But it was enough out of that one field that we made a dam for that pond.
Here's the reason I ask. I hated this job more than anything else because it seemed so freaking ridiculous. Because, first of all, we would pick up the rock, then Dad would plow, then we would go back and pick up the rock again, because when you plow, you're turning it over.
Right.
We repeated that every year in fields that were being plowed. You know, we had many grass fields, so those didn't get turned, but any field that we were raising grain and had to be plowed, because at that point they hadn't come out with the, what do they call the plows? Sub something that you plowed without turning it. But anyway, At that point, you plowed them if you're going to plant grain. Excuse me. It just seems so ridiculous and redundant because twice every year. And I swear some years it increased. I was finally convinced the friggin' rock was reproducing. It just like, there's no end. It doesn't get better, Dad. They're growing faster than we're picking them up.
Now, we were very fortunate, Tommy and I. Tommy Florence was one of the most progressive farmers in Harrison County at the time. So we did for the really big rocks. Now, this is what we had to do. We had an old Massey Ferguson that had a front end loader on it. We'd have to unhook it from the wagon, go around and pick, and it was only for the big ones because the other ones, it just took too much time. We never get anything done. And we could use the front end loader, which was great because two young men couldn't get it up there. It needed a front end loader. But then you had to back it back up, reattach it. It was a whole thing. But I remember so many things that I thought was, well, this is weird. This is neat. This is different. He was the first farmer, to my knowledge, in Harrison County that used hydroponic tobacco beds. The first year I worked for him, we didn't. We were pulling plants out of an actual tobacco bed. You pull the plants, you stack them, you wrap them, and then people who got to sit on the setter set them. The hydroponics, there wasn't anything like that. We had to go in, make sure they were watered, that they had water and fertilizer, and then we just picked the trays up and we took the trays out, and it was so much neater, so much healthier plants, so much less. I mean, it took it took half the time for fewer people to set the same amount of crops because of that.
I've also heard you mention he was big into irrigation. I don't know about Cynthiana, but in the part of Kentucky I was born and raised in, at that time, no one irrigated. So he was probably a pretty progressive farmer in that area as well, I would think.
Yeah, had to in some of those places because we just didn't get enough rain for the tobacco. And, back then that was before the buyouts and all the things.
Was it only tobacco that you were irrigating?
Yeah, they didn't irrigate anything else, just tobacco. Yeah. And if you didn't irrigate, then your leaf base would be way too small.
How much was he growing tobacco? Do you remember how many?
Here's
acres?
the funny thing, and I remember this only because when I went to Idaho, they laughed at me. But his tobacco base was roughly 35 acres.
That's pretty large.
It is, until you go to Idaho. And we were talking a little bit
Which is not
about
a
it.
big tobacco
No,
area to begin with.
No, there's no tobacco in Idaho. However, the thing that I found funny was when I got out there and I pulled over and dummy me. Now, when I moved out there, I was a complete idiot about a lot of things. I stopped on the top of the Rocky Mountains to figure out what all the dust was. Okay, just for honest,
I have no idea what.
it was snow.
Oh, okay.
It was middle of June. There was
Gotcha.
still snow on top
I
of the
gotcha.
mountains, right?
I
Idiot.
probably would have done the exact same thing.
Yeah. So when I got there, I kept seeing these big circles. You would just see the outline, but there was a definite circle of greenery. And I didn't realize at the time, but southern Idaho, Wyoming, some parts of southern Montana, it's all high plains desert.
Right.
So if you don't water, you don't grow. So when I stopped at this little mom and pop gas station, I was like, what is that out there? And they're like, honey, that's a potato field. And the way they do it is they set up one irrigation pump in the center, and it just slowly rolls around over a 24-hour period, the whole crop. And what blew me away, and back to the 28 or the 35 acres, which was huge, was that one potato field with one irrigation set was 100 acres. And there was thousands of them as far as you could
Surprised
see.
it wasn't 160.
No, it was just 100 acres.
Do you know why I said 160?
Circumference of a circle?
Nope.
Oh, I thought it was a math thing with you.
No. Well, kind of a little bit. In the old days when they homesteaded, what was a quarter?
Oh, that's what you're saying.
A quarter was 160 acres, which is the area they would give a farm back then to homestead. And when you go into those western states, you can zoom in with Google Earth, and many of the fields are exactly square.
160.
And they're 160, they're squares.
Wow.
They're 1/4 of a section.
You can still homestead in some parts of the West.
I
which
don't
is
think
kinda
so.
cool. In Alaska, in
Really?
some parts of Montana.
I thought that it all ended.
No, I'm pretty sure you still can.
I'm sure you're right. I just thought I'd heard somewhere long ago that it had ended.
And that was I was like, wow, because I only knew tobacco, right? So for it to be a 100-acre field when I thought a huge farm was, what are you smiling at?
Well, Brett is on Twitch, and he asked,
Oh, hi,
did you
Brett.
eat the Can't Fix Stupid? Yes, Brett, he certainly did. He was a wimp the entire time, and the only way I could get him to do it was to threaten to call you. He kept saying he hadn't promised, and I kept saying, Brett will back me up. So he finally, at that point, he acquiesced and agreed to try it. He did, and sat here for 2 minutes. Oh, can't breathe.
It was stupid hot.
No, it's really not.
You're wrong.
It was warm,
I
It
didn't
was-
like you.
hotter than I like. But yes, you missed it. He did try.
It was terrible, Brett. However, sir, guess what? When you're ready to come back, we got some
No.
more for you.
Oh, okay. But I thought you were going to show him the good one that you. Oh, you ate it all.
I've already ate it
tried
all.
that. We had some maple and brown sugar, and I was going to offer to let you to try it, but you can see how much Steve left you of that one. No.
So while we're on it, let's tell the world what we're doing here. Smoking Gun Jerky of Nebraska. Go to their website, same name, Smoking Gun Jerky. It'll pop up. It's first on Google. Go in there. They have over 50 kinds of jerky. They have bison jerky, elk jerky, all kinds of beef jerky, over 50 flavors.
Some that has a moderate amount of heat, like
No, an immense, stupid amount of heat, like Can't Fix Stupid Jerky, that will literally melt the inside of your brain cavity. I think part of my brain is hanging down my throat at the moment. They have instructions for making jerky. They have all the seasonings you need. And if you use the coupon code at checkout, Cryptid10, you get a great discount on some amazing products.
10%.
10%. Cryptid10. Try that. Also, if you're one of our listeners and you've been using that code, first of all, you are about to experience some really top quality jerky. Second of all, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We appreciate that. Keep that up. You won't be disappointed.
Absolutely. Very high quality. You can just tell by looking at it. It's not cheap stuff. It's good quality meat. Stephen, I've been aiming to ask the guy and try to remember next time you talk to them, but we're convinced that they're probably buying the meat from some local farmer nearby.
Oh yeah,
And it's just high quality stuff. You can tell that from the moment you look at it.
absolutely. We got a great show tonight. But Jerry, I was walking in my backyard earlier today,
Okay.
and I was trying to figure out how I could tell which of my trees were actually dogwoods.
And what did you decide? Did you
Well,
figure it out?
Yeah, I figured it out. It's,
Cool.
Yeah, it was by their bark.
That's a good one. I got to give it credit. That's much better than your normal. I like that. The dogwood bark.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for laughing.
Yeah. That was not me.
I appreciate that. That's wonderful.
I'm glad your week went better than mine. Mine didn't go so hot.
What?
Man, my girlfriend's dog actually passed away.
Oh,
I
no.
was trying to make her feel better. I went and got her another one. I tried to get one that, just like the old one. Didn't work.
Really?
Pissed her off even more. She
Oh my
screamed
gosh.
at me and said, "What am I going to do with 2 dead dogs?" Women. Can't make it up.
That's good, Jerry.
I'm telling you.
Congratulations. You got a good joke.
Finally.
I'm impressed. I am impressed. So tonight, we had a topic planned. And then we were like, Brett's not going to be here, so we don't really...
Let's not blame this on Brett. Let's just be
No,
honest.
absolutely. Let's blame it. He's not here.
We're not blaming it on Brett.
Dang
Here's
it.
what really happened. We were going to do crop circles. We did crop circles last October, I think. And granted, it was without Brett, so that was our first mistake. But we're sitting here at dinner tonight, which we always come over and have a bite to eat and sit and discuss the episode. And we start talking about what we were going to bring new to this episode versus last time. We quickly discovered that it was basically nothing, that we had nothing different, nothing to add to our previous discussion. And at that point, it was really like, why? So Steve made the executive decision to do another one that we've talked about doing and for quite a while. So he made the executive decision, and instead of Crop Circles 2, we are now going to be covering.
Oh, we're going to cover lesser known cryptids tonight.
Absolutely.
And we're going to do that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a great time. We're getting ready to get started. I do want to say, right now, for the next little while, next few months probably, if you want to join us for the pre-show to learn what we're talking about before we go live, if you want to listen to banter and mic checks, if that's your thing, and we're talking about how the episode's going to lay out, and you will learn the behind the scenes of Newsworthy, check us out on Twitch. We usually go live at least 30 minutes. Most of the time it's an hour before we go live. That's free for you right now. At some point that's going to go behind Patreon paywall because it's a lot of fun. When we're doing our show, we are very PG because we have listeners out there that
We try to be.
A
A couple of guests have tried to take it the other direction.
But we work really hard to stay in the PG realm. But
I'm sorry, except for some of your dad jokes. I apologize for those. Go ahead. Please continue.
Gosh. But anyway, check those out. Come in and join us on Twitch. We talk, we interact, we chit chat with people. If you say something to us on Twitch, one of us is going to respond. One of the three of us. It's a good time. Check it out. It's completely free to you. Check us out on Twitch. It's just Newsworthy. Follow, like, subscribe, that old stuff. Woo!
Speaking of responding to our Twitch users, Brett just corrected me. he was here for our last crop circle. So I tried to get him out of the blame, but he's putting himself in and saying that he was part of that. But he had nothing to do with this episode. And I'm sure had he been here, he would have brought great new perspective. But since Steve and I didn't do our research and hadn't come up with very, very little new material, we decided.
Listen.
What?
It's if you weren't here, Jerry, and Brett and I we're throwing you under the bus, okay?
Stop trying to throw Brett under the bus.
Brett is not here. He is at home. He has decided
He's
that
on Twitch.
he is going to braid his toe hair because it's in his way and he can't clip his toenails. So I
started to ask why not his chest hair, but I just remembered he did that the one other time.
Right. So he's got so much toe hair. It's almost spring and summer. He wants that nice and trimmed. So that's why he's not here.
I gotcha.
Anywho, Jerry,
Yes.
let me take you away for a minute.
Two.
A nice hot place that is one of my favorite places in the world.
Where is that?
South Carolina.
Very nice.
If you've never been to South Carolina, it is glorious. It is the majesty, if you will, of the Deep South, in my opinion. It's got the beautiful ocean. Charleston is a fantastic old city.
Deep South.
I think it is. I think if you looked on a map, if you're basing it on Civil War era Deep South, I think Charleston's very much in there. But we're going to take a time outside of the city, and we're going to go into the swamp of South Carolina.
Swamps of South
Carolina?
Yes. Sounds intriguing.
Imagine going through the swamp, and just out of the corner of your eye,
Okay.
you see something flash.
Sounds enigmatic.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And then you see a tail of something that looks to be standing on two legs and is at least as tall as you are, gliding through the water with no effort at all. You, sir, may have just encountered the lizard man of Scape or Swamp.
Lizard man.
It is a cryptid that has been a part of South Carolina folklore for decades. A reptilian creature said to inhabit the swampy areas around Scape Core Swamp, near the town of Bishopville in the central part of the state. The creature is said to be humanoid in shape, resembling a lizard or a reptile, and it has garnered attention due to various reported sightings and encounters. Speaking of encounters, check us out every Monday for a new encounter.
Encounters edition of Newsworthy.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun there. So the lizard man is generally described as being 7 to 8 feet tall, standing on two legs, much like a human, has lizard-like features. The most defining trait is its scaly skin. Good gravy, can't speak. Usually described as greenish or dark, and features scales that resemble those of a lizard or an alligator. Can you imagine an 8-foot tall alligator standing on two legs?
No.
Me either. Scares the hell out of me.
Totally.
It's often said to have glowing red or yellow eyes, sharp claws, and a long, muscular tail. Witnesses, and I do say witnesses because there's been multiple, have described the lizard man as being incredibly strong, with the ability to leap great distances or move quickly through the swamp. I didn't get an idea if it wore a red cape or not.
Wouldn't be surprised with that description.
So, some aggressive encounters while the creature is often described as shy or elusive. Some reports suggest that it may be aggressive when threatened, much like most animals can be. There are accounts of vehicles being attacked or scratched, and a few cases involve the lizard man allegedly trying to damage the cars just to intimidate humans. Lizard man is known to lurk near the swamp and has been spotted by locals and some travelers, often near remote roads or swampland. Many of the sightings are associated with unexplained events, such as strange tracks found in the area. What do you think so far, Jerry?
I remember when you and I were at the Bigfoot Festival in Logan, Ohio, and the reporter from the local newspaper came and interviewed both of us. I remember talking to him, and he asked a question. I don't recall exactly what it was. I think it was, "Do you believe any of this?" And I said, "Here's the deal: 80, maybe 90, maybe 95% of it is BS. It's just
Or-
someone making up a story. Someone saw something and described it differently, and it's how legends grow over time as it's being retold, or what?"
Well, or they saw something, but they don't
Yes.
know what it was, and
Yes.
it could, with further explanation, could be explained away.
Yes, with natural,
Right.
common
Right.
reasoning. But my point was, anytime you have a story that has been told over a large amount of time, going back hundreds of years, this Bigfoot encounters are not new. Ancient people in other countries, Indians, before the white man got to America, were telling similar stories. So when you have a story that is a similar story, very similar story being told over a large amount of time in basically all parts of the world, you can't explain every one of them away.
Right.
This, what am I thinking about your story? The exact same thing.
The most famous sighting of the lizard man occurred in 1988, which we were talking before we went on live, that so many of these started in the 50s and 60s. This one's relatively recent, 1988, when a 17-year-old named Christopher Davis reported having a terrifying encounter. He claimed he was driving along the road near Scape or swamp when his car was suddenly surrounded by the creature. He described it as having glowing eyes, long claws, and a large muscular build. After the encounter, Davis's car was found with deep scratch marks, which he attributed to the lizard man's claws. After the Davis incident, other locals came forward with similar reports of strange creatures in the area. Some reported seeing the glowing eyes or hearing strange noises, while others claimed to have found large, unidentifiable footprints in the swamp. The creature's sighting seems to have led to a series of investigations and media coverage. Some even suggested the lizard man might be some sort of undiscovered primate, prehistoric reptile, or some type of cryptid that has evaded detection. Now, I don't know how you get primate out of lizard guy, but so far I'm leaning toward some 17-year-old put some scratches on his daddy's car and had to come up with some reason as to why they were there. That's my first into it. What do you think?
Very possible. Kids will go to great lengths to avoid mom and dad's wrath.
So, some skeptics believe sightings of the lizard man could simply be misidentified animals, such as large alligators in the area, or even primates, which can exhibit strange movements that might be mistaken for a humanoid figure. I don't see gators being mistaken for humanoid figures.
Or even as a bipedal creature.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Given the attention the creature has received, some speculate that the lizard man sightings are simply hoaxes, exaggerated stories meant to draw attention to the small town of Bishopville. Others see lizard man as a modern legend, a kind of myth that has developed over time, and this would make it like similar other creatures such as Bigfoot or Chupacabra, which are also the subject of local lore and speculation. Bigfoot, yes. Chupacabra, 2 thumbs down. Boo. The lizard man of Scape or swamp has become an iconic figure in South Carolina's local folklore. And Bishopville, the town closest to the swamp, even embraces the creature as part of its identity. The town has held festivals and events, including the annual Lizard Man Festival, to celebrate the legend. The creature has... What are you doing? The creature has been featured in various media, including television shows, documentaries that all explored cryptid sightings. In short, while there's no scientific evidence to support the existence of the lizard man, its place in South Carolina's folklore continues to capture the imagination of locals and cryptozoologists alike. Whether it's a real creature, a misidentified animal, or just a fascinating myth, the lizard man remains a beloved and mysterious figure in the region. South Carolina is not that far away. We should maybe check out the Lizard Man Festival and see if we can't go down there and hang out.
Do they have one?
Yep.
I'll be darned.
Of course they do.
Of course they do. You're right. South Carolina's not very far away. Not very far at all. You know what's even closer?
What's that?
Ohio.
Yeah. I'm so well, before we get let's not put the proverbial cart before the horse.
Okay.
Coming in May, guess what we're doing, Jerry?
What are we doing?
We're going to Stanton, Kentucky. You know what's in Stanton, Kentucky in May?
What is in Stanton, Kentucky?
The Red River Gorge Bigfoot Fest.
Very nice.
Whoop, whoop. We're already there. Come see us. In fact, you can come see the guys of Newsworthy. We'll be there. We'll be talking to folks. Again, I'm pretty sure we'll be giving away some swag. You might even pick up a package or two of free smoking gun jerky. Definitely get some Newsworthy swag. We're going to be talking to lots of folks. I'm excited.
And if they're lucky, they might even get to try some Can't Fix Stupid beef jerky.
No. I love our listeners. I'm not doing that to them.
That's good
you
stuff.
Evil person.
That is very good stuff. To show people how evil I am, how much I hate them, please inform our audience how your wife described this Can't Fix Stupid beef jerky.
But that's not a fair comparison.
How did she describe it?
First, their context is important.
How does your wife describe this
She,
jerky?
like you, has repeatedly burned off all of her taste buds, has no sensitivity whatsoever. And she said, and I quote, "Oh, that's delicious. It's not
And it
hot at
really
all."
is. Well, I wouldn't say it's not hot at all. It has a pretty good kick. It will slightly warm your mouth. And yeah, it was a little bit uncomfortable. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I wasn't headed where you thought when I said, you know what's closer, Ohio. I
Oh,
wasn't talking about Logan, Ohio. I wasn't talking about the Bigfoot
ooh,
Festival.
what was you talking
I
about?
was leading into the next part of tonight's show.
Oh,
The Ohio Grassman.
ooh, I
Once
didn't know
again,
there was a thing. Do
there is
tell.
a Ohio Grassman. Very similar in many ways, not a lizard, but some of the characteristics I found to be very similar to what you talked about. Here's some of the characteristics of the Grassman from Ohio. Range height, 5 to 10 foot tall, generally 6 to 7 feet. Footprint, 10 to 20 inch range, although most of them are the 15 to 18 inch long range. Some of the footprints appear to have claws. Some were pigeon toed, some even flat footed. The estimate of weights are 350 to 500 pounds. This one, and a few different cryptids, Bigfoot, Sasquatch type cryptid, are known to have an odor. This is one, has a very strong odor. In this case, they say it's like the odor of rot that often lingers in the area for days after it's vacated. So that's some of the characteristics of the Ohio Grassman. Now, this one goes back a little bit further than the lizard man. This one, again, a general overall description is a tall bipedal hominoid that stalks the woods of Ohio, hence the name the Ohio Grassman. Very similar description to a lot of descriptions of Bigfoot. This one seems to be much more aggressive than almost any other Sasquatch species that you hear about. The first prominent sighting that made it popular happened in the village of Minerva, Ohio, in August of 1978. The grandchildren of two local residents, Evelyn and Hal Clayton, were outside playing. They suddenly ran back to the house screaming about a hairy monster that they had seen in a gravel pit that was adjacent to their house. When the couple come out to investigate, they actually saw it. They saw what the children, the crying, screaming children had been talking about, was covered in dark matted hair. It was sitting in the pit and it was playing or fiddling with discarded trash. And this one was estimated to be around 300 pounds. Now they fled. Can't exactly say that I would blame them. I've said many times, for many of these cases, I understand it happening once, maybe twice. If you're sticking around, guys, I don't care if it's a cryptid. I don't care if it's ghost. Somewhere along the line, my question is, why are you still there? When you're telling me that it was the 14th time, why are you still there? And again, these guys, they fled at the time. They didn't leave the area. And they actually reported seeing the Grassman many times later. One night, it was peering at them through their kitchen window. And the father, Hal, ran for his gun. But before he got back, the primate was already gone. The area, they called the police, and the area was investigated by the police. There was no sign of the humanoid, but several large footprints were observed in the mud outside. And the policeman noted that there was a terrible smell lingering in the air. Now, the Ohio Grassman was later seen by the Claytons on top of a nearby hill. It was near a strip mine, and it was at nighttime. The following month, in broad daylight, they have actually observed two of them, two of the hairy bipeds on the same hill. And it was after these reports by the Claytons that a startling connection was made. Days before the gravel pit incident, the Claytons' family dog, a German Shepherd, was found dead. Its neck had been broken, presumably, they later believe, killed by the hairy beast. Now, this case, along with the infamous Sasquatch, would form one of the most complex and important Bigfoot investigations in Ohio's history. And as we've talked about, mainly when we're talking about the Bigfoot Festival in Logan, Ohio, Ohio really is a hotbed for Bigfoot activity. When you look at reported sightings in the United States, there are two places that jump out when you just look at the number of sightings. And Ohio and Oregon, southern Washington, northern Oregon are the two areas that really seem to jump out. But even with this, 1978 was not nearly the first mention of these creatures roaming the Buckeye State. Stories of this creature go back as far as the 1700s. Indian natives to the Ohio grasslands talked about a race, not one, not two, but a race of bipedal ape men that they referred to as the wild ones of the woods that lived nearby. They supposedly would even leave food out for the creatures in an effort to keep the peace, to keep them happy. A sacrifice, if you will. Again, in the late 1800s, sightings of a very similar hairy biped were made by the Ohio River. Now, when you talk about close to Kentucky, that's about as close to Kentucky as you can get. You got Ohio on one side of the river, Kentucky on the other. This hominoid had apparently tried to throw a man out of his carriage, but he retreated when the daughter, riding as a passenger, jumped out and began throwing stones at it. So, the Ohio Grassman. Had you ever heard of it before?
I had not.
Neither had I. The Ohio Grassman. Again, I would classify this. Your story I mentioned when you asked me what I thought, and I went back to what I told the reporter in Logan, Ohio. To me, it's part of the whole Bigfoot / Sasquatch. It's very similar stories that have been told over hundreds of years throughout areas around the entire world.
Isn't it crazy?
You can explain away most of them. Yeah. The majority of them are crap. But I do not believe you can explain them all away.
I 100% agree with you. 100%. However, I also know what I saw when I saw, and Tommy and I experienced, and I can't explain that away. From someone who does this, and we've seen we've explored hundreds of cryptids, and we've interviewed even more hundreds of people. I still don't know what that was. No idea. And a lot of things that you see, we have, in the background, we have Bigfoot sitting there in a chair with his glasses on. A lot of it's fun and tongue in cheek, and I get that. But I don't ever want the fun and tongue in cheek stuff to come away from or take away from the real research that's being done. And when you get hoaxers, AI is terrible. I mean, it has so many positives that are out there, and I'm glad that we have these huge positives. But the images that AI can produce now, and
Sure.
it doesn't help the research, the legitimate people that are actually trying to do a real thing. I had a guy come to me the other day, and I'm going to try to get him on Encounters. And I think that this spring, you and I are going to try to go to his farm. You come into in my office at one of my jobs, you come into my office and I have a picture, one of our newsworthy pictures that has Bigfoot, and then I have an alien, and just stuff that we cover on our podcast. When people come into that office, it gives us something to talk about while I'm processing their paperwork, so we're not just sitting there looking at each other, right?
Right.
And he's sitting there, and I'm processing his paperwork, and he looks at me, and I kid you not, doesn't hesitate. He's looking at that Bigfoot picture, and he says, his fur's not that fluffy. And I'm like, excuse me? Because I'm in the middle of doing his paperwork. He's like, he does not look like he just came out of a hair place. He's stringy, greasy, and he smells bad. And I'm like, how do you know? He said, I've seen him twice. And he's on my farm.
Don't give too much of it away.
But
we plan on going there.
We plan on going there. We're going to try to get him on the show. But it's, when you're talking to a guy like that, who's seen him twice, all of a sudden now it's like, okay, we can explain one away as, something, but the second time, you know what I mean? Anyway. But
you mentioned about AI hurting the cause, if you will.
Sometimes.
And I agree. Overall, do you not think that Bigfoot is becoming more and more popular?
Yeah, I do.
Now, again, we've talked about Ohio being one of the hotbeds. I don't know what it is about little Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, but there seems to be a lot of interest in this.
Oh, dude, you have no idea.
A lot. Maybe that explains a picture that I took less than a week or two ago. No, nothing like that. At the local Walmart, an item sitting on the shelf. This is the item sitting on the shelf. Does that show up?
Yeah, it does.
This. I can hold my phone. This is an item that they're selling at the local Walmart.
Nice coffee mug. Says, I'm glad I found you.
So glad I found you. Shows Bigfoot walking, holding up.
Which is one of the reasons we are going to do at least one downtown festival here in Lawrenceburg. Right. Because I feel like it's going to be worth it. Also, while you were discussing your guy, I applied for the Lizard Man Festival in Bishopville, South Carolina.
Very nice.
We love getting out and talking to folks. We want to know from a scientific and realistic standpoint. Hey, we want to talk to people. One of the things that I find most interesting, Jerry, and I want to do one more little one before we leave, but one of the things I find interesting, and we experienced it a lot in Logan, was people from different parts of the state or different parts of the country that have the exact same story. These people have never met. They don't talk to each other. They are there with a common interest, obviously, but their particular story is so theirs.
Yep.
And for them, that's the only thing they have context of. But when they're telling us the stories, and then we've heard the exact same story from 8 different people, and it's the same thing.
Very, very similar.
Those are the things that, like you say, you can't just sweep all those away. Because now there's corroboration from multiple people. The V-shaped aircraft with 5 lights.
How many times have we heard that?
I can't explain enough how many times.
I think it was Brad and Anne Marie that I was interviewing, and you happened to hear them describe the noise.
Yeah.
And you was like, that's what I heard.
Yes.
Several times we've heard not just them and you, but other people described the sound that the creature they saw made, very similar to what you and Tommy experienced when you
Yeah.
guys were teenagers.
Yeah, it's so when you get those stories, and they're from people who have never heard each other, never talked to
Right.
each other from different parts of the country. Those are the things that
It's hard to
make
explain
me
away.
right. Those are the things that make me say, okay, maybe we got a little something here.
I agree.
17-year-old got some scratches on daddy's car, not so much. But hey, why not? Let's give it a shot. So I want to talk about something that is funny to me in a way because of the way they try to explain it away.
Sure.
Have you ever seen the movie Tremors?
Yes.
Years ago, Kevin Bacon.
Yep.
He delivers a line in that just absolutely cracks me up and is such a prelude to that movie.
Okay.
Him and his partner, who are ranch hands or whatever at the time, his partner's asleep and he tries to wake him up and he goes, Earl, how many cows does it take to make a stampede? Is it 3 or more, Earl? And the guy's awakened and he's all like mad and there's a couple of cows sitting around, mooing. It was funny.
Yeah.
But the movie Tremors is all about these worms that are been for whatever they feed, and if you make noise on the surface, you walk too hard, drive too hard, they come to the surface and they eat you, basically. The reason I wanted to cover this has nothing to do with Texas, which is where they were. This is the Mongolian Death Worm, known locally as the Allegheny Lunatic. It's a legendary cryptid from the deserts of Mongolia, particularly in the Gobi Desert. The creature had become famous as part of folklore. It's said to be terrifying, venomous worm that can kill its victims from a distance. Here's what the folklore says. It's often described as being 2 to 5 feet long with a thick sausage-like body. It's depicted with bright red, which is likely where its death association comes from. The worm has a segmented body, but is supposed to be slimy and slippery in the desert. Slimy?
Wow.
Okay, right? It has some weird abilities. One of the most intriguing claims about the worm is that it can kill simply by spitting powerful venom at you or hitting you with an electrical charge. Right? And it burrows. The Mongolian death worm is said to live underground, emerging only when it feels threatened or it hears vibrations from which it hunts. Despite its massive size, the worm is supposed to move very quickly, especially when attacking. It's very territorial, highly aggressive if you come into and it perceives you as a threat. And people can only see the worm when it surfaces, but others have described seeing it move through the sand almost effortlessly. Now, why is it significant? It's been a part of the Mongolian culture for centuries. It features predominantly local legends with stories of attacking livestock and even humans. There are also reports of this worm being associated with death, danger, and or misfortune for any travelers in the Gobi Desert. Most people, however, attribute this worm to being a ball goba python, which is also 2 to 3 feet long, but it looks nothing like the pictures of the worm. That's what I thought was funny. How do you get a very small, cylindrical snake into a big, meaty, sausage-looking worm? That's completely red. Huh?
I would agree.
Either way, I would not want to see one of the Mongolian death worms if I were about to go through the Gobi Desert.
100% agree with that.
Crazy how things and stories all come about, isn't it?
Very much so.
Crazy. Jerry, what do you think about the lizard man of South Carolina? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Probably thumbs down.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
you told of how many people was there anyone other than him? that
Yeah,
saw
there's
this?
been several that came forward and saw something in,
Okay.
in the swamp as well.
Okay, then I'd change it too. But I thought that you'd only mentioned the one.
No, that was the first.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as there's different people, then yes, it needs more coverage.
Even, and I'll take that a step further because I didn't get into it detail because we wanted to go back and forth a little bit on some of these. But his story never changed, according to the sheriff of of Bishopville. His story stayed the same for years.
Yeah. Something to be said for that.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Thumbs up. Let's go talk to the Lizard Man people down in South Carolina in Bishopville. I'm excited to go.
Yeah, if it's a big enough deal for them to have a festival, yeah, there's got to be something going on.
Right. All right. What about the Grassman of Ohio?
I've got to say yes, not because of the story itself, not because of the Clayton family, but because of the Indians and the stories, the similar stories that they were telling going back 200-300 years previous. So, and again, to me, it's nothing different than a version of Sasquatch, Bigfoot that you're going to hear
Yeti.
Yeti, you're going to hear throughout the world. So it's a version of that. But anytime you have in one particular area a very similar story, it's been told over hundreds of years, that piques my interest.
Yeah, mine too. I agree. And it seems like that this one seems to be more realistic. If something hairy lives out in the woods, it's not going to be blow dried pretty and clean. It's going to be pretty gross.
I also like the fact that police reports, when they came and investigated, they supposedly found footprints. I'm not saying that you can't fake those. I'm just saying it adds some legitimacy to it.
And Jerry, finally, the Mongolian Death Worm.
Yeah, you didn't convince me on that one.
Me either. It was hard to convince me of that one because I've seen the movie Tremors.
Yep.
And that was horrifying. A 3-foot worm, I'm going to smack it and keep trucking. So thumbs down on the Mongolian Death Worm. Absolutely. That was an interesting episode, but our journey isn't over yet. If you stay tuned, we have an exciting bonus story coming up after this commercial break.
Hi, this is Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. When it comes to buying a home, the process can be overwhelming and confusing. With so many options, it can be hard to know where to start. That's why it's important to work with a certified mortgage loan originator. I have the knowledge and expertise to guide you through the process and find the best mortgage option for you. I will work with you every step of the way to ensure that you are getting the best deal possible. So if you're looking to purchase or refinance, please reach out to me at 502-680-0953. So don't take on the stress of buying a home alone. Work with me and I will make your dream a reality. Trust the professionals and make your home buying experience a positive one. MLS ID 448908, DAS Acquisition Company, LLC, doing business as USA Mortgage, MLS ID 227262. This is not a commitment to lend. Additional terms and conditions apply. USA Mortgage is equal housing opportunity.
If you would like to share suggestions for future episodes, an intriguing ghost story, or simply tell us how much you love or hate us, please get in touch with us. You can reach us via email at newsworthywithstephencherry@gmail.com or send us a text at area code 540-709-1318.
And now, back to the story.
Meet Steve Lindsay, your trusted Kentucky real estate expert. With deep knowledge of the local market, Steve helps you find the perfect home right here in the Bluegrass State. But that's not all. If you're moving anywhere across the country, Steve Lindsay can connect you with top-rated agents nationwide, ensuring you have the same trusted support wherever you go. No matter where life takes you, call Steve today to start your real estate journey with confidence. Steve Lindsay, Realtor, 502-600-0550.
Guys, how about, have you ever heard of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum?
No, I have not.
Probably a good thing. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is a lesson in how not to treat mental illness. Overcrowding, poor sanitation, and limited light, heat, and furniture, combined with bloodletting, insulin coma therapy, and ice pick transorbital lobotomies, have led this hospital to become a violent house of horrors. Uncontrollable patients were kept in cages, and some committed murder. By the early 1900s, ghost stories were running riot. In the Civil War, wings in the Civil War wings lurks Ruth. Pushing male visitors around against the wall, a man who was bludgeoned to death by a fellow inmate hunts the spots where he died. 9-year-old Lily sits in a toy-filled room waiting to play. Toys in a music box move by themselves. With a black mask called the Creeper crawling around the walls and screams from the ECT room ricocheting down the halls, this isn't somewhere that just anyone should linger. If you'd like, they offer haunted tours at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Jerry, you look like that's where you need to be.
I would go.
And Jerry, if you can't see the light,
Be the light.